So, Mom,
Yeah?
I want to tell you something.
About what?
You know, I am definitely hyped up to see the new SpongeBob video game called The Cosmic Shake.
Oh, you're hyped up?
I'm hyped up to see the cutscenes.
Okay.
And I understood that I'm going to make a review of the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Flying Dutchman.
It's 20 years?
Yes,
Oh my god. Everything is so old now, so
of course it is so old.
20, 21 years old, 25. Oh my god.
Yeah. So, I'm definitely getting ready to produce my Revenge of the Flying Dutchman video game review right now. As I noticed that this video game, which originally came out on the Game Boy Advance, PS2 and GameCube, excluding original Xbox, it originally got released in 2002 in North America, would later be ported to the United Kingdom on March 14th, 2003, on the same day that Rayman 3 came out. Although it was made by Vicarious Visions, which would later go on to be involved in Crash Nitro Kart, as we know of, I have to call it Crash Nitro Kart, and most notably the infamous Big Sky Interactive Incorporated. Especially it got published by THQ on both the GameCube and PS2 consoles, and it was only exclusive to the only portable Game Boy Advance video game console. Despite being the final SpongeBob game to be made by Big Sky Interactive Incorporated, even though starting with Battle for Bikini Bottom, that all future games would no longer be made by that drastically dreadful company that we know of. As I know, I finally understood why I don't seem to care for this company. As I know, they're the ones who made this weird, messy game that got rushed into incompletion. I understood what the plot was going like. I'm only reading the whole console version. One fateful day, SpongeBob wakes up and begins playing fetch with Gary, who leads Gary to dig up a treasure chest. But when SpongeBob opens the chest, he finds the bottle that he rubs it in what he wants to make a wish of releasing the doubloons all over Bikini Bottom, in what he accidentally releases the Flying Dutchman from his eternal slumber. In what he told to SpongeBob, he will take Gary to work on a ship for all eternity for digging him up to get revenge on him for what he did to him on Halloween. Even though he briefly left to check on his ship, he makes good on this promise. In what SpongeBob realizes, he's been involved in a plot to get involved in a Beware the Superman styled, the whole Beware the Superman styled situation of discovering where he can find a way to defeat the evil spirits that have taken over his world. Even though the plot sounds very familiar to that of Rayman, he proceeds to travel across 7 different locations to recover the letter tiles. That there are only 9 targeted letters that spell his name on it to make a ticket. From each of it, what would spell out his name, he leads his way to find a treasure chest in what it's been explained by Squidward, whose book said how to defeat evil spirits, are personal possessions from when Dutchman was once alive, which could weaken him. According to the book, all 7 will make him immune to the Dutchman's hypnotizing spell, in what he would probably take over the whole world. That sounds like a pig in the brain, like cliche sort of plot twist. To collect all 7 tiles, SpongeBob is forced to complete on a wide assortment of challenges and missions for other characters who have been enslaved by the Dutchman, in what they are trying to obey for him. However, he needs to deliver food for Mr. Krabs at downtown Bikini Bottom and fix Patrick's broken TV antenna, as well as helping Sandy rid of her tree dome of bees and wasps, as after giving herself the beehive, what he mistakes it for an acorn as a gift, in what he brings Patrick food from the acorn they had before. Right while winning a jelly fishing contest, he met all the game. He bet all the mini games at Plankton's new amusement park, Chum World. Plankton's new amusement park, Chum World, in what he assists Sandy to clean up garbage, in what he ends up killing Patrick's stomachache. While he chases down Plankton, he defeats Larry the Lobster and Sandy in karate matches. Yeah. However, as SpongeBob continues his quest to seal the deal on achieving all of his targets, he becomes impervious from the increasing power that the Dutchman had, that he would hypnotize and kidnap everyone else on board. Although he felt extremely satisfied with Gary's hard work, unlike his old crew, he begins to terrorize Bikini Bottom with the idea of communicating an attempt to murder SpongeBob by dropping heavy crates and barrels into his house, forcing him to flee. Even though he winds up in the graveyard, he learns that his team of disgruntled pirates would assist him to get the fair share of booty from the doubloons in exchange from their use of cans and collect the last treasure that he needs to find. Although SpongeBob is now immune to the Dutchman, he boards the ship and rescues his friends, but is confronted by the Dutchman. However, the narrator, is omniscient about SpongeBob's cockiness of discovering why Dutchman's master plan is being crushed. In what? He learns that Squidward's book was out of date and needs a new edition that explains that SpongeBob's immune to his magic. Not only completely, but however, SpongeBob has no choice but to confront his one final target, is that he's forced to fight the Dutchman anyways. Although the boss battle, which mostly deals about the Flying Dutchman trying to target SpongeBob with some hideous green toxic sludge everywhere that he keeps throwing, is very reminiscent to that of a Battle for Bikini Bottom boss battle, mostly dealing with Robo Patrick. Although the boss battles in both of the games are very similar in a same pattern of what radioactive waste can be used on ice cream, it sounds very familiar, but the funniest thing is that this final showdown took place in some sort of a volcano that SpongeBob realized that the entire graveyard was actually a volcano in disguise. Now, speaking of volcanoes, in case SpongeBob doesn't want to end up dying here by the lava that would scorch his body up, the funniest thing is that he then manages to set the Dutchman ship on fire, even though he finally cements his victory by crushingly suck up the Dutchman back into his bottle to his death. And then SpongeBob escapes with his friends on a flying boat to celebrate the Krusty Krab, to where he would go back to where he started from. Even though I noticed that in the alternate ending, of the Game Boy Advance version involves around the player getting a list of wishes to choose from, but each one would depict a screenshot of said wish. But one involves giving SpongeBob his own TV show. When that one is chosen, a screenshot of the show's original logo would appear. Although the gameplay looks very decent on having like 7 worlds being involved, although it's tended to be like side-scrolling and sandboxing in a sliding puzzle like a diving rod that is like hooked to some sort of a anchor. It's sort of weird, but I don't understand why it got something very interesting. I realized I gave the positive reviews to mainly the GameCube and Game Boy Advance, but the PS2 port that I had, it definitely sucks, and I realized, despite being a kid-friendly Grand Theft Auto ripoff, I noticed I had no choice but to discover what's the best number I could think of. I'd probably say, let's just try and seal the deal with, basically, I'm going to seal the deal of this video game, most notably, just an 8.8 out of 10. As I know it's quite a fun game to be around, despite the bad qualities of the PS2 port, I understood that despite selling some interesting amount of some solidly decent copies throughout, maybe like more than 100 copies of the game itself in the United Kingdom, it's sort of interesting that I understood that I'm gonna wait and see the Cosmic Shake till it's all over. You know what they say? Time will tell until it's done. So bye bye.